When it's all said and done, I'll miss the dynamic of the show, because there's nothing like this show.
Before Game of Thrones would become one of the biggest television shows of all time. Before the Stark family would go through a roller coaster ride over the course of its 8 seasons. Before the Red Wedding happened. Before the Game of Thrones cast members would become global superstars, each clocking in millions of followers on social media. And before every Sunday of spring 2019 would become a cultural event, spawning incredible memes and of course, some great commentary from the show's cast members.
Honor of Easter, I guess Game of Thrones wanted the storyline to have a little Easter bunny hopping into that pussy. And that's the tea.
Are there any Game of Thrones fans on this channel? Let me know by hitting that like button. And I'm giving you time to exit. If you're just starting the show, this is a warning, there might be a spoiler alert in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. House Stark has been through what seems like a never-ending roller coaster throughout Game of Thrones' 8 seasons. Ned Stark was brutally beheaded in the first season in front of his young daughter Arya. His wife Catelyn, his son Robb, and Robb's pregnant wife were all taken out in a shocking fashion at the Red Wedding. Ned's youngest son was shot through the heart with an arrow by the devious and quite hateable Ramsay Bolton. And another one of his sons, Bran, was pushed out of a window, becoming permanently paralyzed. However, despite all of these hardships, House Stark has prevailed and become a powerhouse once again. With Jon coming back from the dead and Bran becoming the three-eyed raven to lead the living in the Great War, the North has rallied behind them along with whatever strength the wildlings and the Lord of the Vale can bring, plus Khaleesi and her dragons don't hurt to have on your team. The 3 surviving members of the main family include Sansa, a now learned confident political strategist, Arya, a faceless warrior, and Bran, the all-knowing three-eyed raven. But who are the actors behind the legends of the throne? Well, Jon Snow, aka Kit Harington's great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was none other than King Charles II of England, so I guess he truly is royalty after all. He is also a descendant of the inventor of the flush toilet. Apparently it was called the John Harrington, aka the John. But we'll get into all that in this video and more. Can you guess what Sansa's greatest fear is? What about Jon's? And how about what Bran plans to do with his Game of Thrones money after the show is done? Or why Arya almost missed her audition in the first place? Stick around to find out the answers to these questions and more. What's going on, good people, in the comments section? Shout out to the people watching after school, on their work break, at lunch, on the toilet. And shout out to people watching in North Carolina today just because. I hope you're having one heck of a day. My name is Jeremy Hecht, documenting the cast members of the living members of the Stark house here for you on Before They Were Famous. We recently dropped a video on the Avengers and we decided we'd follow it up by getting in on one of the other hottest pieces of entertainment everyone's excited for. And let's be honest, no one is more enthusiastic than a Game of Thrones fan. No judgment, I'm right there with you. We could follow this up by talking about the other great houses like the Lannisters and Targaryens, but that's only if you want them. So let me know in the comments down below. All right, let's get into the video.
Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell. Boom!
Oh, come on, boy, it's all right.
Let's start with the King of the North, Jon Snow, aka Kit Harington. I promise I'm done with the accent. Kit Harington was born Christopher Catesby Harrington on December 26, 1986 in Acton, London, to Deborah Jane Catesby, a former playwright, and David Richard Harrington, a businessman. The two were always supportive of his dreams. Kit was named after the famous 16th century poet and British playwright Christopher Marlowe, whose first name was shortened to Kit, which is also the name Harrington prefers. In fact, he didn't even know his real name was Christopher until he was 11 years old. Kit also has a brother whose name is ironically John. Him and his brother have their mom's maiden name as their middle names, and Kit is also a mama's boy, saying the best thing in the world is his mom. I'd agree with that about mine. Love you, Mom. Kit's ancestry comes from all over the world, including many European countries, but crazy enough, through his paternal grandmother, Lavender Cecilia Denny, Kit's 8 times great-grandfather was King Charles II of England. Wait, so does that make Kit the last remaining heir to the throne? No, I don't think so, but at least he does have royal blood, not only in the show, but in real life too. But perhaps most impressive is the fact that he is a descendant of Sir John Harrington, the inventor of the flush toilet. So next time you're flushing, you can thank Jon Snow's family for keeping things clean. Kit can also thank his relative for his friendship with Ed Sheeran. Apparently the two became friends after peeing next to each other at urinals in a men's room, and maybe they've even worked on some secret songs together because Kit actually plays a little drums. Kit was a pupil at the Southfield Primary School and later studying at the Chantry High School in Martley after his family moved to Worcester. And he was there until 2003. As a kid, he was a massive Sesame Street fan because it was the only thing he was allowed to watch, but he also loved horror movies. He didn't like video games. In fact, he was frightened of the game Doom when he was younger. His other fears include spiders, and he's extremely claustrophobic, which is why the infamous hour-long battle scene in Game of Thrones was actually as terrifying for him as it looked. But originally, he didn't even want to be an actor. He wanted to be a cameraman, a correspondent, and a journalist when he was younger. It was after watching a production of Waiting for Godot that Kit started to develop an interest in acting when he was 14 years old. He performed in his school productions and later moved to Worcester's sixth form college, where he studied drama and theater for 2 years. Kit used to work at a bookstore where he often had to lift heavy copies of A Song of Ice and Fire into the basement, which Game of Thrones is based on, and he didn't like the author very much as a result. He said, "I hated him. I used to have to lug down the books, and George's always sold like hotcakes. So I was constantly having to restack them, and they were just so heavy because they're so huge. I remember cursing him. I've told him this many times." But he does enjoy George Orwell's 1984. When he was 17, he was inspired to study acting and attend drama school to perfect his craft after watching a performance by Ben Whishaw playing Hamlet. He moved back to London when he was 18, and a year later he attended the Central School of Speech and Drama, from which he graduated in 2008.
When was the last time you were fed? Look, I bet you haven't had a thing.
While at drama school, he landed the role of Albert Narracott in the play Warhorse. Kit sees himself, before anything else, as a trained theater actor. It was during the production of Warhorse that he caught the attention of Game of Thrones producers, who invited him in for an audition. But the night before his Jon Snow audition, Kit got into a fight at a McDonald's restaurant because a guy was hitting on the girl he was with. The dude sitting across from them made some comments to Kit's girl, and he wasn't here for it. So he stood up to challenge the guy, but standing at only 5'8", he didn't realize the other guy was absolutely massive.
And he just kept going. And I just realized that I had to, at that point, throw the first punch, otherwise I looked like a complete wimp, and I got battered.
He ended up with a black eye and showed up to his audition with a good old shiner. If anything, Kit thinks it might have made him look more like the part.
I hate riding. All it does is get you soiled and dusty and sore.
Next up, we have Sansa Stark, aka Sophie Turner. Sophie Turner was born on February 21st, 1996 in Northampton. She is the daughter of Sally, a nursery school teacher, and her father who works for a pallet distribution company. She had a twin that died before birth, so she's always been drawn to stories about twins and doubles, like The 13th Tale and Another Me. Sophie has 2 older brothers named James and Will, and stated in an interview with The Telegraph that her childhood was fun with lots of pigsties and barns where they would play around in the mud. Chest or tin. Chest or tin. Chest or tin. Chest or tin. When she was 2 years old, she moved to Chesterton, Warwickshire, where she attended Warwick Prep School until she was 11, later attending the King's High School for Girls. Turner has been an actress for most of her young life, as she became a member of the Playbox Theatre Company at 3 years old. Her first leading role in the company was in a production called Scary Play. She told the Coventry Telegraph, "Playbox is a fun environment. It's not just a place for kids to hang around and be silly. We are very serious about acting. They do not mold you into the actor they want, but let you be yourself." As a young actress, she was inspired by Jack Nicholson and especially loved the film Once Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. She also loves the TV shows Hannibal and Breaking Bad, as well as reality shows like The Kardashians and Honey Boo Boo. No shame in that. I just wonder if she liked this show at all.
I gotta trim my eyebrows. You know, these caterpillars can get out of control.
Turner's drama teacher encouraged her to audition for the part of Sansa in Game of Thrones, and she dyed her blonde hair auburn just for the role. There were 4 callbacks in London through an intense screening process, and apparently, her social media following put her ahead of the other actress who was in contention for the role at the time. Sophie was on holiday in France with her family when she found out about getting the role. Her mom woke her up and said, "Morning, Sansa." Sansa was Sophie's first television role. Turner had a tutor on the set of Game of Thrones until the age of 16, sending homework back to her teachers at school, but while she was dealing with a pretty rough life on screen, she got 5 A's and 4 B's at GCSE, although ironically she only got a B grade in drama. Come on, I think her on-screen experience should have spoken for itself. But Sophie was actually going through a very difficult time off screen and struggled with depression. It was through her work, her family, and her supportive friends that she was able to get back to a stable place. Her family was so supportive of her role in Game of Thrones that they actually adopted the direwolf that Sansa had in the show. She couldn't adopt any of the horses she rode in the show though, because she's actually allergic to the animal. And while her cast brother Kit is afraid of spiders, Sansa is afraid of drains. Yeah, you heard that right. Like, where the water goes in a shower. She told InStyle magazine in an interview, "I have a phobia of walking over drains. It freaks me out. I don't know what it is, but I get so nervous whenever I see one. Someone once told me to say the word onions when I walk over one and it will reverse the curse. So now I say it every time. I guess it's a superstition thing, but it helps." Sophie is multi-talented though, as she does some modeling and starred in the fall 2014 campaign for Karen Millen. She is able to beatbox and she can actually rap some Eminem songs pretty well.
And Dr. Dre said, "Nothing, you idiots. Dr. Dre said he's locked in my basement. Feminists, women love Eminem. Chicka, 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 Slim Shady. I'm sick of him."
She is currently engaged to Joe Jonas, and singer Haley Steinfeld actually helped set the two up. And apparently now that she has tried American food, she can't get enough of Chick-fil-A. And I've got to agree with her there. The spicy chicken deluxe sandwich, no tomatoes, is life-changing.
I don't care. I'm going out riding.
Arya Stark, aka Maisie Williams. But we all know that a girl is no one. Margaret Maisie Constance Williams was born on April 15, 1997 in Bristol, UK, making her 22 years old for all of the people wondering based on episode 2 of season 8. Maisie is actually a nickname based on a character from the comic strip The Perishers. She is the youngest of 4 children. Her 3 older siblings are James, Beth, and Ted. Her mother, Hilary Pitt, now Frances, is a former university course administrator. But it wasn't just her siblings that she grew up around. Maisie's family had 13 dogs. Maisie attended Clutton Primary School and Norton Hill School in Midsummer Norton, where she said, "I was quite weird in school. I think people were scared of me because I was like really hyper. I had a few friends, but I was never the popular one or the pretty girl. One of the reasons I love Game of Thrones so much is because it's about finding out who your real friends are, and sometimes that takes a very long time to realize." She has also been interested in performing since a young age, dancing for 4 years at Susan Hill's School of Dance, beginning at the age of 10. She originally wanted to be a dancer professionally, but her parents were unable to afford the fees to send her to a performing arts boarding school. One day, her dance teacher told their class about a competition in Paris where talent scouts would be watching and could make you into a star. And the teacher wasn't just selling the dream. After dancing at the talent show, she was spotted by a talent agent. Well, it was actually during an improv acting workshop there that Maisie met a woman named Louise Johnson who threw out the word bowling, to which Maisie had to play off of, and she said, "After making her laugh with a fictional story about how I threw a bowling ball at my brother and it bounced, she asked me to join her acting agency." Her first audition was for a role in the Nanny McPhee sequel, but she didn't get it. Fortunately enough, another audition came along pretty shortly afterwards, and this time, she killed it. At the age of 12, she was cast as Arya Stark in Game of Thrones, which would become her first professional role. She dropped out of school at the age of 14 with the approval of her parents, and it paid off. But she did have a tutor on the set of Game of Thrones and was able to pay for her own classes at Bath Dance College to study performing arts. Her mom gave up her job to help manage Maisie on set. Her mom had read the book and told Maisie that Arya's character was left-handed, so Maisie practiced enough to actually fight left-handed for the show.
I was quite young and I had such a big imagination. In those scenes when I was younger, I would really convince myself that I was there and it was happening, you know?
Although she isn't a big fan of all the violence in the show and says that she covers her eyes during the fight scenes, in fact, Maisie herself has never read the Game of Thrones books because of the gory content. I have a feeling she'll be covering her eyes a lot this season. Maisie is a huge supporter of animals, being heavily involved in the Dolphin Project, which aims to educate people about the dangers that dolphins face. She loves animals so much that she almost didn't attend the audition for Game of Thrones because it interfered with a class trip to a local pig farm. It was her mom who finally convinced her to go.
Brandon, I want you to promise me no more climbing.
I promise.
Bran Stark, aka the Three-Eyed Raven, aka Issac Hempstead Wright. Alright, the accent slipped back in, I'm sorry. Issac was born on April 9, 1999 in Surrey, but grew up in Kent. He attended Queen Elizabeth's Grammar School and lived there with his family and his 2 dogs, Ted and Rosie. Growing up, he loved to watch The Simpsons and SpongeBob SquarePants, and his favorite movie is The Illusionist. He also played the piano. But Issac didn't always have a passion for acting. At first, he was playing soccer on the weekends, but when it was starting to get cold outside, he started to look for a way out. So he joined the drama club to avoid the perils of the outdoors and ended up falling in love with acting. When he was younger, he started acting in commercials and studied acting at the Kent Youth Theatre in Canterbury, England. He made his big screen debut in the horror film The Awakening in 2011, but the big break came when he was cast as Bran Stark on Game of Thrones. He had to grow up pretty quickly though for the show because in one of his first scenes ever, he walked in on the brother and sister combo of Jaime and Cersei Lannister having sex before getting pushed out of a window and into a coma.
Yeah, no, I was pretty much told what was going on.
Oh, you were?
But it just sort of meant that my mum had to give me the sex talk a little earlier.
But Bran has his sights set on much more than just acting. It's reported that he is saving up all of his Game of Thrones money, which I'm sure is a lot being in 8 seasons, to one day attain his PhD. He went to his first year of college at the University of Birmingham, but dropped out because all of the crazy attention that he had from crazy Game of Thrones fans.
My flatmate opened the door and just sort of looked at me in a slightly stunned expression. And then apparently I went down to get some more stuff and they had to have like a flat conference where they're like, oh my God, the Three-Eyed Raven is in our flat.
And one time, he even accidentally dropped a massive spoiler to his math teacher. He also says that he would love to be on the show Sherlock once GOT is done, and like his castmate, he hasn't yet read the books that the series is based on, but says he'll go back to them when he's older.
Game of Thrones has been such an education for me in everything. It also taught me a lot about myself.
As for the rest of the story, well, you know it because this is Before They Were Famous. I'll see you guys next Sunday night for the next episode, and let us know if we should cover other houses. Follow me on Instagram at Jeremy_Heck. Link is below. Dream good, live better. I hope you have one heck of a day, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.